Hello everyone, this is my research about space exploration. First, Sputnik 1. Sputnik 1 was launched on October 4, 1957, weighing 83.6 kilograms or 184 pounds. It was also the first artificial satellite launch. Sputnik 2. Sputnik 2 was launched on November 4, 1957. It was the second spacecraft launched into the Earth's orbit and the first to carry a living animal, a Soviet space dog named Laika. Explorer 6. It was an American satellite launched on August 7, 1959. It was a small spheroidal satellite designed to study trapped radiation of various energies, galactic cosmic rays, geomagnetism, radio propagation in the upper atmosphere, and the flux of meteorites. It also tested a scanning device designed for photographing the Earth's cloud cover and transmitted the first pictures via satellite. Vostok 1. It was the first spaceflight of the Vostok program and was the first crewed spaceflight in history. The Vostok 3Ka space capsule was launched from Baikonur Cosmodrome on April 12, 1961 with Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin aboard, making him the first human to cross into outer space. Vostok 6. It is the last spacecraft in the user's first manned flight series. Carried Valentina V. Tereshkova, the first woman in space. The spacecraft consisted of a nearly spherical cabin covered with ablative material. After completing 48 orbits in 70.7 hours, the spacecraft landed on the northeast of Karaganda on June 9, 1963. OSO-1. It was launched on March 7, 1962. It was the first satellite to have a pointed instrument and onboard tape recorders for data storage. The OSO-1 platform consisted of a sail which pointed two experiments continuously towards the sun, supplying power to the experiments from the solar batteries and rechargeable chemical batteries, and a wheel section, which spun about an axis perpendicular to the pointing direction of a sail and carried 7 experiments. Luna 10. It was launched on March 31, 1966. It was the first spacecraft to go into the orbit of the Moon, and the first human-made object to orbit any body beyond the Earth. The primary objectives were to achieve the first lunar orbit, gain experience in orbital operations, presumable as a precursor to astronaut orbital missions, and study the lunar environment. Apollo 8. It was launched on December 21, 1968. It was the first crewed spacecraft to leave the low orbit of the Earth and the first to reach the Moon, orbit it, and return. Its 3 astronaut crew, Frank Borman, James Lovell, and William Anders, were the first humans to fly to the Moon, to witness and photograph the Earth rise to escape the gravity of a celestial body. Apollo 11. It was launched on July 16, 1969. It was the first space flight that landed humans on the Moon. Commander Neil Armstrong and Lunar Module pilot Buzz Aldrin formed the American crew that landed the Apollo Lunar Module Eagle on July 20, 1969 at 20.1700 hours UTC. Armstrong became the first person to step onto the lunar surface 6 hours and 39 minutes later on July 21 at 2.5600 hours UTC. Aldrin joined him 19 minutes later. They spent about 2.25 hours together outside the spacecraft, and they collected 47.5 pounds or 21.5 kg of lunar material to bring back to Earth. Luna 16. It was launched on September 12, 1970. It was the first robotic probe to land on the moon and return a sample to Earth and represent the first lunar sample return mission by the Soviet Union and the third overall, following the Apollo 11 and 12 missions. Salyut 1. It was the first station of any kind, launched into the low orbit of the Earth by the Soviet Union on April 19, 1971. The Salyut program followed this with 5 more successful launches of 7 more stations. Pioneer 10. It was launched on March 2, 1972. It was the first spacecraft to travel through the asteroid belt and the first to make the direct observation of an outer planet. Pioneer 10's mission was to study Jupiter's atmosphere, magnetosphere, and satellites, particularly low, as well as solar wind parameters and dust distributions. Mariner 10. It was an American robotic probe launched by NASA on November 3, 1973, to fly by the planets Mercury and Venus. The mission's objectives were to measure Mercury's environment, atmosphere, surface, and body characteristics, and also to make similar investigation of Venus. Voyager 1. It was the space probe that was launched by NASA on September 5, 1977. Real-time distance and velocity data is provided by NASA in JPL. At a distance of 148.61 AU or 22.2 billion kilometers or 13.8 billion miles from Earth as of March 12, 2020. It is the most distant man-made object from Earth. Venera 13. It was launched on October 30, 1981. It is a Soviet spacecraft and was the first lander to transmit color images from the surface of Venus. Although other landers arrived before and after it, pictures from Venera 13 are more widely circulated because they are in color. STS-41B. It was the 10th NASA Space Shuttle mission and the 4th flight of the Space Shuttle Challenger. It was launched on February 3, 1984 and landed on February 11 after deploying 2 communicational satellites. It was also notable for including the first untethered spacewalk. Mir. It was launched on February 20, 1986. It endured 15 years in orbit, 3 times its planned lifetime. It outlasted the Soviet Union, that launches it into space. It hosted scores of crew members and international visitors. It raised the first crop of wheat to be grown from seed to seed in outer space. Thank you for watching and have a great day!